Welcome. What I would like to do, try to do anyway, in this video is to go through the configuration of frame relay in a point-to-point environment. Point-to-point environment, the networks are separate. We have separate networks, whereas in the multi-point, all of the routers in the cloud were on the same network. In the point-to-point, they're all on different networks. In order to do that, we'll use sub-interfaces on the headquarters router. We'll configure it as the hub in the hub and spoke environment that we're creating. Keep in mind that the hub and spoke environment has some issues. As we become more and more accustomed to, dependent upon voice over IP, hub and spoke environments can create delays in the VoIP network, and voice over IP really doesn't like delay very much at all. So the first thing we want to do, and I've got my little cheat sheet over here, notes, is go into this thing and go into interface 00/0/0 after we go into the configuration mode, and do encapsulation frame relay, and after that, again, we can specify the encapsulation protocol. If we want to use IETF, we want to leave it at Cisco, just hit enter. And we're going to exit out, and then let's go into interface 00/0/0 dot. We'll create our sub-interface, and let's start with 102. And the question mark, we have to specify either a point-to-point or a multi-point. This is going to be a point-to-point. If I didn't specify here, I would be unable to create the sub-interface. So we'll do point-to-point. And now we need to put the IP address on it. So IP address 192.168.1.1, 255.255.255.0, and then the only thing we can do is a carriage return. After that, we need to do, and this one's a little bit different, frame relay interface delc, and which delc we're going out. Instead of doing a frame map, we use a frame relay interface command. And when we do that, delc would just 102, and after that, our only option is a carriage return. We don't have to worry about broadcast here, and we're not going to have a situation that split horizon is going to get into our way, because since when we create the sub-interfaces and the different subnets, then we take split horizon out of play. So let's exit out of this one in interface 00/0/0 dot, and let's use 103. 103 in this one. And we have to specify point-to-point. Again, if we didn't do that, we would be unable to create the interface. It would tell us that. IP address 192.168 dot, what is this one? 2.1 perhaps? I'm going to be sure that that's what I said. 2.1, 2.1, 255.255.0, and then frame relay interface delc, and in this case it's going to be 103. We shouldn't be able to ping .1.2 any of the others yet because we haven't done any of our configurations. So let's go over to the Phoenix router. I already put IP addresses on these things, so to speed things up, I did the configuration. I already put the IP addresses on these, and I didn't create sub-interfaces. In a networking environment, it probably would be a good idea to go ahead and create the sub-interfaces regardless of whether you need them or not, because at some point somebody's going to come in, and you know it will, if you don't do it, and say, oh, let's add to this network in frame relay. Then you're going to have to go rip the configuration out, create the sub-interfaces, and do it anyway. But in this case, frame relay interface delc off of this one is going to be Phoenix 201. And again, after this one, the only thing we have is a carriage return. Let's set the encapsulation frame relay before using the frame relay. Oh, yes. So we'll do encapsulation frame relay. And now then, we should be able to do the frame relay configuration. So with this one, we should be able to ping 192.168.1.1, right? But we can't. And we can't because you notice down here, I forgot to do something on the router here. Config T, interface 005050, no shut brings it up, and if we do a no shut, if we look at the IP interface brief, it brings up all the sub interfaces. So if we should be able to ping 192.168.1.2, and we're still waiting, and it's still not working. Yeah, it is working. It just took a little while. Okay, so we have success. Now we'll go down here to Milwaukee, go through the same process. So 05050, and in order to do this properly, we should do encapsulation frame relay first, and then frame relay interface del C, and in this one the interface del C is going to be 301. Ping 192.168. What is this, 2.1? And it works. Let's try to do RIP again to see if we really have the issue, the broadcast issue, and the issue with split horizon. So show IP route spelled correctly, config T, router RIP, and we're going to do network 192.168.1.0 and network 192.168.1.03.0 to advertise those networks. So let's go to the headquarters router, show IP route. We say change the way they spell it. This one now has the 2 and the 1, so we're going to have to advertise all of these routes. So router RIP, config T, router RIP, network 192.168.1, 192.168.1.1.0 2.0 and 101.0. With that, let's go up and try Phoenix. Let's go for the show IP route, and we have the 2 routers here, so we'll do config T, router RIP, network 192.168.1.0 and 102.0. Let's go to the hub, and we now have some of them starting to come up. The 102 route is up. The 103 route isn't up yet. We'll give it a few minutes because, as you recall, RIP takes a couple minutes in order to be able to do what it needs to be able. As you may have noticed, probably when I was doing the configuration, you were jumping up and down. I use network 192.168.2.0, which isn't on this one. It's clearly 192.168.2.0 network. So I need to go back in here and configure router RIP, no network 192.168.1.0, and do a network command. We'll use Control E, see if we can get there, and advertise the .2 network. Probably will help us get our routes a little bit better. And now we have all of the routes. Again, split horizon and the broadcast command didn't come into play in this one. We have the 3 RIP routes, the 1.0 network, the 101, and the 102, and I'm already on the 2 network. So if we go into the host ping 192.168.1.1 success, and this one over here should be on the, let's see what this one is, 102.2. So let's see if we can ping 102.2, and we're waiting and hoping and seeing if it gets there. Timed out. Okay, now we have success. Again, the delay, before it actually wakes up and says, yes, we can get there. So that takes care of the configuration of frame relay in a point-to-point network. I made some mistakes that you may have made, will make, not paying attention, thinking it's the one when it's really the 2 keyboard errors. So when you do something that doesn't work, there's a logical place to go back and see why it's not working. I wasn't getting Milwaukee routes. I probably have an error on the Milwaukee machine, either that or the HQ machine. So that takes care of the frame relay point-to-point. Use sub-interfaces. They're on different subnets. No shut command on the serial. You saw me mess that up. You have to turn the interface on. And it's probably better to turn the interface on after you create all the sub-interfaces so you're not having all the ups and the downs and those kinds of things. There was no split horizon issue. We didn't have to turn it off on the hub router because they're on different networks. With that, thank you for watching, and I hope this has been useful.